economy is largely driven by its oil industry. Oil accounts for 98% of total exports. According to the African Development Bank, economic growth is expected to reach 7.8% in 2014. But despite relying heavily on oil, the country is looking to diversify its economy. Part of this economic diversification is happening through real estate. The national corporate sector, Sociedade Bahia de Luanda, and the Angolan government recently unveiled a new $6.3 billion real estate project at the first business forum in Luanda. This is a project that will change the city seafront. It occupies 3 different plots in a total area of 39 hectares and combines modernism, urbanism, and quality of life. The project has won awards in Angola, South Africa, and Portugal, and has been distinguished in the United States by the International Waterfront Association as the best environmental redevelopment and public space project from among 40 other projects from around the world. This former Portuguese colony is being placed back on the map.
The project, Bahia de Luanda, to Luanda and to the country, is an enormous and emblematic project. We are certainly looking at one of the most beautiful projects built in the African continent. It will surely become a world reference.
Foreign investors are paying close attention to the business opportunities that the country has to offer.
Overall, Chinese is quite impressed with Luanda in general, and that's why we see a lot of Chinese really trying to come over to Luanda and Angola to invest. However, the program needs to be certainly positively promoted to investors.
There are challenges for foreign investors, but Sociedade Bahia de Luanda believes that this is the country to invest in.
Angola is a country that was closed to the world for such a long time that it opened to the world when it achieved the peace process in 2002. It's an incredible opportunity for investors to come since the country has a big GDP growth.
The US has been detached from this crisis, so it may have come as a surprise to Central Africans to see this jet on the runway. And as Samantha Power, the United States ambassador to the UN, headed for an armoured car, she didn't have to look far to see the scale of displacement. Power drove through streets that are still tense with intermittent gunfire. She visited a community hospital and spoke to one of the thousands injured in sectarian attacks.
And is there anything that you would like to ask from us specifically?
She wants peace.
And across the other side of the capital, this is the new force tasked with trying to bring peace. The Green Berets of MISCA, the international support mission for CAR. It will scale up to 6,000 troops, dwarfing the size of its predecessor.
There are over 1,200 slums in Egypt, hosting an estimated 25 million residents. That's more than a quarter of the entire population. For years, the development of these areas has been the government's biggest challenge.
195 dangerous areas are in Greater Cairo, and we will create complete infrastructure for these areas. We will also provide facilities as schools, lighting, and paving roads. The first stage will cost us £1 billion.
But that budget is insufficient, so the caretaker government is turning to NGOs for help.
Giza Governorate will get £135 million for 3 slums which will be renovated. Beside the government efforts, we welcome NGOs and admire their role in improving the slums. So we have created a slums fund.
Owing to the tight budget, the funds are likely to be concentrated on the least developed areas, leaving little, if anything, for maintenance services in renovated areas. Kotsika is one of those places. It was among the first areas when the government launched the project, yet today it suffers.
Ethiopian men and women returning home in large numbers. These people are the latest to arrive. They've been deported for violating Saudi Arabia's labor and immigration laws. Some say they were mistreated.
We were kept for 5 to 6 days in the sun with no food and water. The government is doing nothing apart from the embassy paying occasional visits and assisting in repatriating.
The Ethiopian government says it has already brought back tens of thousands of workers and their families, and more will return in the coming weeks.
We are now reaching around 139,000, so maybe it can go up to 150. Not additional 150, but we might expect another 10,000 or 15,000, not more than that.
The new labor laws are designed to curb the number of foreign workers. Saudi authorities announced an amnesty in April to help workers sort out their visa problems. And in November, police started to crack down on illegal migrant workers. Some turned violent. The Saudi government says around 4 million migrants from several countries sorted their paperwork during the amnesty period, and about 1 million others have left the oil-rich kingdom. But back home, these returnees are not guaranteed a better life. Ethiopia has a growing economy, but many earn less than $2 a day, and the unemployment rate is already at 20%. Omar Saleh, Al Jazeera.
The major traffic snarl-up along the busy Eldoret-Nakuru highway was the aftermath of a night brawl at a Chang'aa den that degenerated into a more serious issue involving the security of an entire village. 2 brothers were stabbed to death on Wednesday night.
A group of persons were in their social life, that is, they were taking beer, and a disagreement arose, and as a result there was a fight. And as a result of that fight, 2 people were stabbed.
The incident that happened in Matharu area, Uasin Gishu County, infuriated the residents who torched 15 houses where they claim illicit brew was sold and consumed. This is what remained of an area popularly known to residents here as Kismayu, a name given to the Chang'aa dens. The residents lamented what they called the laxity of administration police officers here.
Maaskari wa administration police ambao pia wanajihusisha na watu ambao wanatengeneza pombe wamejulikana kwa kwenda kuchukua hongo katika eneo lile.
Pombe ndio shida kuu hapa, kwa sababu sasa ndio tuchukue hatua mikononi. Leo asubuhi tufunge barabara. Nadhani huu ni mtu wa 6 kuwaka kwa hii biashara ya pombe.
It is said that the deceased were engaged in a fight before both were stabbed to death.
Kwa ukabila hatuna, lakini hii ni biashara ya pombe, na kama tutazimua hii pombe kabisa na administration wabadilishwe kabisa, mambo yote itakuwa sawa.
Mambo haya yaliyotokea jana haina uhusiano na ukabila wote. In fact, we are treating ama tunachukulia hatua kama hiyo kama mwalifu yule yoyote.
The torched houses used to be servants' quarters for a sawmill farm operating in the area and had been taken over by the brewers after it closed its business some time back. The bodies of the 2 were taken to the morgue at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret. 1 suspect has been arrested. Masi Kandie, KTN, Matharu, Uasin Gishu County.
Lagos, Nigeria's biggest city, is famous for, among other things, bad traffic and internet scams. When a few young men here cooked up the idea of opening an internet retail shop in early 2012, they thought they could use both to their advantage. Retail shoppers would happily stay at home to avoid traffic. And Nigeria didn't gain its infamy for internet scams from being computer illiterate. But when they started, not everyone saw these qualities as advantages. Jumia Managing Director Tunde Kahinde.
Recruiting in the initial team was tough. Getting suppliers to trust us, because everyone, whether it's customers or suppliers, are skeptical about anything online in this part of the world.
It took the upstart 4 weeks to get their site online and start delivery. But the one thing they couldn't do was convince Nigerians to enter their credit card numbers into the website, says Raphael Afador, another co-founder of Jumia.
We're not going to grow by actually waiting for people to get comfortable with paying online. So we came up with pay on delivery, where we actually take the product to the person from our warehouse, and then the person pays once they see and touch the product.
He says they started with 5 motorcycles and a dream to be the largest retailer in Nigeria, Africa's biggest market with over 160 million people. They still have a long way to go, but they now have more than 150 vehicles, 600 employees, and deliver thousands of items a day. Like their Western counterpart, Amazon.com, Jumia sells a broad range of items, from shoes to booze. But unlike Amazon, retailers in Nigeria have to deal with the bad roads, crazy traffic, daily power outages, and the widespread corruption that makes it hard to do business here. Kahindi says Jumia has managed to grow fast because it has always factored in these challenges into its business plan. For example, they dispatch items on motorcycles so they can deliver to homes that aren't near viable roads.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So Africa is open for business, but just don't copy and paste. Come, learn, localize, and grow.
E-commerce is still new to Nigerians, but Jumia already competes with two other websites, Konga.com and Dealday.com. Jumia investors have also opened online shopping centers in Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, and Kenya. Jumia workers call themselves Jumians and are on average about 27 years old. Wealthy Nigerians from their parents' generation shop in London, they say. They hope their generation of rich and middle-class Nigerians will soon start shopping in Nigeria. Heather Murdoch for VOA News, Lagos.
While Kenya celebrates its Jubilee anniversary, neighbors in Somalia are still dogged in conflict 22 years later. Things changed for Somalia in 1991 when civil war broke out following the ouster of former President Mohamed Siad Barre. Since then, generations have been decimated, the capital demarcated into clan-ruled enclaves.
The civil war that started in 1991 affected the spirit of nationalism in this country. Warlords had divided this country, and that further fueled mistrust and suspicion between different clans.
Then came the religious outfits, the Islamic Courts Union in 2006, and the subsequent birth of Al-Shabaab, which is now an ever-present threat.
A religious holy war is what is affecting us even further now. So many people have been brainwashed by this ideology, and they are killing their own people in the name of faith.
But just how much did the killing in the name of faith and extreme religious ideologies affect the spirit of nationalism in the country?
When people take that ideology, they lose nationalism and patriotism. They instead get a different cause.
Millions of Somalis have been displaced, thousands others put up in refugee camps in neighboring countries, and it might take some time before Somalia celebrates patriotic statehood. Mohamed Hirmogi, CCTV.
Bannange bwe twali tuva e Kampala nagamba Ambrose ne mugamba Jontwala sigenda kufuna mirembe sirina security yonna ne mubuulira ne mugamba jjajja mulalu jjajja wali apangisa enju etonya munnange Ambrose ebyo byonna teyabiwulira. Ambrose nasalawo nandeeta ebiharwe bwe twatuuka mu nju eya jjajja bannange kyali kyakutiisa jjajja era ng'amazima yeeyongerako ng'akaaliko konna kaavaako nga jjajja
bw'okaba omusayi gujja toddamu kaaba omusayi gujja kugira ddala tokaaba
munnange.
That is where she grew up from according to her, and that's where she's comfortable. So you are not going to force her into a very magnificent home where she's going to feel uncomfortable, and even psychologically and emotionally she's not healing. So when I asked her, is this where you want to stay? She said, yes, I want to stay here. This is my grandmother. And I know, yes, sometimes she gets problems. She survives by digging for people. That's when we came up with the idea of ensuring that we support them with food.
Kyali yakimuyitamu buyisi wali enkuba bwetonye emukuba talina kyakulya talina kyakunywa jjajjawe mulalu minatuuka embeera n'ensobera neŋŋamba nedda nina okuyamba mbabazi kuba bw'ayimirira omusayi gumuyitamu buyisi bw'alya kyalidde nga bw'aba akiridde bwe kiyitamu yenna mbutuufu awunya ali mu mbeera embi ennyo era ffe abamunaaza bwe tumulaba naffe tuwulira tumutidde.
And the organization that has been caring for Mbabazi, that is Action Aid, we thought that actually they were doing the right thing. As you have seen, they just brought her, dumped her with this elderly woman who is mentally disturbed. There's nothing in the house. The granny to Mbabas has just told us that they don't have anything. They didn't even give her food, not even money to cater for the girl, not even medication. So in other words, they were just dumping Mbabas at this place to die from there.
To all those who have not had an opportunity of looking at Mbabazi, she's seriously bleeding. There's a funny smell or stench that is coming out of her, and she's in serious pain, serious agony, whereby the necessary support should be provided to rescue her life. She's not well. The impression that has been created to the country that she's well off, she has improved, is not right. It's entirely wrong. It's just a cosmetic one.
You balance this.
The delay, ostensibly to allow the minister to carry out more consultations, is an indication of the magnitude of the task at hand. Zimbabwe's government is cash-strapped. It has mounting local and foreign debt and dwindling revenues. The biggest challenge for Chinamasa is how to finance the budget. His boss, however, is not willing to accept any excuses.
Find money, Chinamasa. You can't say there is no money. Where is our platinum going? You can't say you have no money. Where is our gold going? You can't say we have no money. Where are our diamonds?
So far, mining royalties and dividends have not been enough to fund government business. Plans have been mooted to borrow against the country's mineral resources. Industrialists I spoke to predict this could generate at least $1 billion. If and when any funds do materialize, they need to be prioritized.
That money should not be used for consumption. That money should actually go into capital expenditure.
It's estimated that more than 70% of the government revenue is used to pay wages. Millions more are required in the coming year to feed people facing starvation due to erratic rainfall. That leaves precious little for production.